US and its Asian allies are being brought up closer by an ambitious China. How the worsening ties between India and China are polarizing Asian region. How should India look into the worsening ties between US and China? What will be the impact of Trump administration's confrontation with China? GS Paper 2, Effect of Policies and Politics of Developed and Developing Countries on India's Interests. What is the context about? Viewed from Washington, it has been increasingly difficult to find equilibrium in relations with Beijing. All signs are that the Trump administration is going to become much more hostile towards China. This will have the net effect of not only dramatically worsening US-China relations, but also severely straining relations between every Asian state that has tried to balance its ties between China and the US. Few Asian states wish to choose one power over the other. How the worsening ties between India and China are polarizing Asian region. As the Trump administration opposes China, we likely are going to see a number of states in Southeast Asia cease their equidistant balancing behavior with US. These states will increasingly tilt towards China. In the case of India, we see a strong strategic tilt towards the US while attempting to maintain a modicum of normalcy in diplomatic, commercial, and cultural relations with China. Other nations, Japan, Singapore, Australia, and India in particular, will likely solidify their ties to the US and with each other. They have no desire to drift into China's orbit. This will prove a strong countercurrent to other states that draw closer to China. This will lead to an increased polarization of Asia. How should India look into the worsening ties between US and China? The relationship between India and the US must be built on its own merits, and not as a tactical or strategic expedient. This includes in the security, defense sphere with wide range of complementary strategic and security interests between our two countries. And it therefore needs to have a broad-based foundation. But India should certainly worry about China's expanding footprint in Asia. China's expanding footprint certainly includes its military capabilities, its naval surface, subsurface fleet and growing area of operation, AOR, its ballistic and cruise missile capabilities, its cyber warfare capabilities. These are all realities of growing Chinese military power, and they are realities for both the US and India. It would be a mistake to anchor our bilateral or multilateral security cooperation on the China factor alone. We need to have a broad-based India-US security relationship just as we need to have a broad-based ties in general, diplomatically, commercially, educationally, culturally, in science and technology, and other spheres. What will be the impact of Trump administration's confrontation with China? Everything depends on the Trump administration and how it approaches the region. If it confronts China without parallel efforts to reassure the region, it could end up seriously damaging America's strategic position. At such a fluid time, it is highly important that America's allies and strategic partners make their voices heard in Washington.